The anxiety shit is like slow cooking crab, like that euphemism. Going back to the early episodes and thinking about how good it was back then. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we are back to another episode of Infinite Ryvius. We are on episode 20 today, but of course we got stuff to deal with about episode 19 before we start. First off though, we have a comment from the Patreon from Master Detective, which is I guess a great name to have for a show like this to figure everything out, from the episode Smiling with You. I don't think there's been any scene that indicated that Cullen is part of the cult. There's a scene where Yuki's ex goes from hanging with Fiona to watching Yuki and Cullen from afar, but I don't remember any scene where Cullen interacts with Fiona or the ex. Got further into the video, LOL, don't think there's a scene where Cullen went to Fiona's room or talked with her, only the ex. I want to say that I think I remember that happening, but as I just covered in a different recording earlier today, I feel like sometimes maybe I'm just making stuff up. I don't know. I legit remember in my head a scene where Cullen goes to Fiona's room. Like, we see the door open, Fiona's inside. She, like, steps aside as though she's, like, giving her room to walk in, and then we cut to another scene on the ship. Like, no words get spoken, but that's what I remember happening. If it didn't happen, I don't know what to say. It's what I remember. Maybe I'm remembering a different character, right? I don't know. I guess in this case, if everybody tells me that didn't happen, then the only thing I can think is maybe it didn't happen. Unfortunately, though, you guys know how argumentative I am about this stuff. If you were lessons, like sitting over here, I would say, okay, everybody telling me that didn't happen only reduces my assuredness that it did happen down to 50%. I'm going from 100%, I know this happened, down to 50%. Maybe it didn't happen. The world telling me I'm wrong only reduces me down to 50% right. Anyway, we have a board. And of course, with a board comes a board changelog. I changed the green line from Aoi to Izumi to white. That relationship has changed. Changed Ikumi to Reiko with I connected Ikumi to Reiko with a red line because obviously that scene, we all saw it, so. I changed the red line between Michelle and San to green because apparently she's going to try and make an ally out of everybody that was a former member of the gang. I connected Michelle to blue with a red line. I don't know why I didn't have them connected before. They were obviously part of the gang. You know, actually thinking about it, probably from the era where I had them all in a box together, and everybody that was in a box together is assumed to be allies. So I never actually had to connect them together. And then when I stopped doing that, I just never reconnected them with a line. So that's that. I added a green line between Koji and Nea, which is, Purple Girl now. I'm just gonna have to remember from now on that Purple Girl is no longer Purple Girl. She is Nea, or Sphinx if you're loose. Turned the white line between Criff and Charlie purple, because it seems like now it's a back and forth thing. She's not just using him because she had the opportunity to leave him behind, and she chose to stake it out with him. For reasons that I will probably have a note for later. Alright, well, I got my notes, because this show is so friggin' noteworthy. Ikumi beating that hedonistic room's ass was totally deserved, given that the implication of what those girls did is, frankly, they are lucky he didn't kill anyone. Assuming that he didn't cause it, uh, didn't look like he did. Sorry, I said cause it. I meant to say didn't look like it he did 'cause it didn't look like it. Sorry, I can't read my own notes sometimes. Plus, it would go against who he is to kill even the worst people. He even forgave Blue for turning his back on the ship when Azumi was on it. So, assumedly, Azumi could have died, right? And he still forgave Blue for that. So, it really feels like he would not have killed these people, and in the worst. I think it's rather obvious that Ikumi was in love with his sister, and not just in the I love my family way. But I think the implication is that she killed herself. Ikumi specifically asks why she went away, and I don't know why, but that has the feel, to me, of someone that chose to go rather than was taken away, and I don't know why I'm air quoting anymore. Granted, the actions he takes in the initial episodes would have me believe that she died in an accident. The way he is constantly trying to save people in a way that seems like he doesn't want to relive the trauma. But I'm leaning more towards suicide being the cause now. The guys confronting Julie after the fight with the Dicastia, on one hand, I appreciate that when they say they don't want an apology, they just want them to figure a way out of this mess. I can appreciate that, as I just said. They don't want to just take out their aggression on someone like all of the past uprisings or the beatings of the Zwei, for example. They just want results. That's the last good thing I'll say about them, though, since their next dumbass line is to imply that a woman couldn't lead the ship. They instantly become misogynists and commit assault on Julie. Grabbing someone that doesn't consent to being grabbed is assault. Her slapping them was completely justified, and even though she's been less than the character that we've known her to be so far, I appreciate that she's finally stood up for herself. Koji and Aoi are both right, and they are both wrong about how to handle Izumi, in my eyes anyway. The problem is, everyone is different, and Izumi has gone through an extremely traumatic experience. I'm no therapist, nor do I know anyone that's gone through something like this before to base any experience off of. Some people need time alone to think and recover. Some people need to know that people are there for them, and there's people that they can talk to. Some people need to find an outlet for their hurt in other ways. I know I'd have absolutely no idea what to do here, especially when doing the wrong thing could lead to more harm. And not knowing if being there for them too much or leaving them alone was the wrong thing, it's a minefield. On the Ikumi slash Reiko confrontation, that's a hard one, even with a viewer's knowledge of what happened. Reiko's defense that she did do something isn't untrue. Time and time again, she stood up for Azumi and tried to warn her about her behavior causing problems. But Azumi wouldn't listen. Ultimately, Reiko didn't act when Azumi was being taken away. She cowered from the threat of it happening to her as well. Could she have done something? Conceivably. She would have been outnumbered, but I imagine there is a universe where she went back into the kitchen and grabbed something heavy to use as a weapon. I think the truth is, we've always known that she wasn't that kind of a character. That was never going to happen. At the same time, Ikumi is both angry at her for not being that person, but obviously he's also taking his anger out on Reiko, which is really his anger at himself for not protecting Izumi like he said that he would. He's projecting, and I feel that is ultimately why he is in the wrong here. I said before that I thought the Sphinx was a creature that caused a different emotion to become heightened based on the Sphinx itself. I believe my last guess was that the Ryvius was about obsession. It could be that I was wrong, and instead it just heightens the natural tendencies of each person individually. Back in the first episode, I took the note that Naya said the following. Koji, it was troublesome. Oze, it was I can't stand it. Yuki was hypocrite. Aoi was you don't understand. I think it was hurry for Koji again. Julie was shut up. Fina was it's too late. And even Eric Campbell had one with I don't want to die. Of course, we know Eric Campbell did die. What if these were all implications towards each person's tendencies and emotions that would individually be heightened as the show went on? Aoi is quite literally having a breakdown from not understanding. Yuki consistently, or essentially, called everyone hypocrites over the intercom. Ikumi can't stand it anymore. It all feels very in line with them becoming these exaggerated versions of themselves. And again, I lean this back towards like the captains of the Decastia and the Blue Impulse are also heightened versions of characteristics I would imagine that they would have, but again, we don't know them from before we see them for the first time. So, I know it's pretty late in the game to be having a guess about what's going on with the ship and its crew, but here we are. Given recent events, if anyone could talk to Azumi about what she's recently had to go through, and it might actually be Michelle. So it might be interesting to see if Michelle and Azumi cross paths at some point. I know they can't really. Well, I guess they really could, I think about this. Sorry, not in my notes anywhere, but I was thinking they can't really because Azumi won't leave the cabin anymore. But the thing is that Azumi is now locked down in the officers section. And I believe we've heard before that San and oh god, what was his name? The one that San betrayed everybody with? Gran. Sorry, I couldn't remember his name for a second. San and Gran are also both locked in the officers' quarters. So if Michelle goes to the officer quarters section to try and get San back, it's possible she could go to the wrong door and end up having a conversation with Azumi. So it's not impossible. I'll throw that out there. Julie just wants a little bit of happiness and someone to be with her. We know that Blue's obsessed with her thanks to our mind readings fix, and by action alone, we know that Julie is obsessed with Blue. So Julie showing up dressed in her party dress and crying in front of Luxon is just making me fear for disaster. I think the implication is that she is trying to settle for Luxon, as it seems to be a known fact that he has something for her. But it also seems obvious that the show is going to just set this up for a confrontation between Luxon and Blue later, where either Julie is going to hurt Luxon by going back to Blue, or Blue is physically going to hurt Luxon to just take what he wants. Either way, Luxon is going to get hurt for no reason. The worst thing he's done is gamble with Pat around. If I'm right about this fix's effect on everyone, then Luxon has really only become better under its influence. He has an inner desire to lead, but when pushed to it, he does all the jobs everyone else has been abandoning while taking care of Pat as Pat's guardian. He's a good guy, despite it all, and I just want a Luxon win by the end. And my last thought here. Two massive questions linger at the end of the episode. Does Koji still have the gun? He got knocked out, the gun was in his coat pocket, his coat was taken off of him when he got rebandaged by Cullen and Yuki. Sorry, by Cullen and Yuki was watching. Possible that the gun has changed hands. And why the hell does Pat have a black eye? He didn't have one when he and Luxon walked in on Julie. Last we saw him, Julie was crying on the floor and he smirked. Then suddenly, he's asleep in Ron's room with a black eye. Carabona is guiding Julie onto the bridge cautiously as though something happened, as she looks depressed still. And Luxon is likewise just asleep somewhere where socks are hanging up. So, no sign of a fight or anything. What happened? Again, the idea that Pat, the most innocent person on this fucking ship, got hit in the face and got in a black eye. I want to know who did it. Also, Rand is just sitting there watching him sleep, which, we have our own weird thing about what's going on with Rand and Pat. But you'd think that she would have more of a problem too if this was caused by something. Like, even when Julie yelled at Pat once, she was like, "You're just the worst," and ran out. You'd think there would be, okay, maybe she did hit Pat. Maybe this is the weird effect it's having on Julie, where she gets angrier and angrier at Pat for no good reason, and this is her blowing up. And that's why she's not limping, she's like slow moving onto the bridge, because Rand finally had it out on her. Because the alternative is that Rand did something, but I couldn't see that. Because one, it's an obsession thing, as I pointed out before, as my previous thought about what's going on the ship is obsession. But I don't think that Pat would just be sleeping in the bed like that if he was in the room with his abuser. I don't know. It's weird. I want to know what's going on here. That's the end all of it. I want to know what's going on. So that said, those are the thoughts, those are the boards, those are the comment. I said let's go ahead, hop on in, and see what's going on.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Well, this doesn't bode well. Well, as I mentioned before, the abuses on the ship are just getting worse and worse. He's quite literally going all Lord of the Flies. Again. Again, it's the element that Ikumi is doing the right things for the wrong reasons, which is only going to push him to doing more of the wrong thing. Because clearly somebody has to put these people in their place. Otherwise, they are going to end up killing people all across the ship. That are, I mean, they've got to be running out of supplies. We haven't seen the doctor character or the med student character in forever. They got named early on. I can't remember what the name was. It's not one of the characters we keep track of, because again, they haven't been there since like episode 3. Sorry, I'm also just noticing a problem that I fixed. There we go. Sorry, sometimes when you're on the wide aspect versus the square aspect, they've got to be running out of medical supplies, given how many people are just getting hurt constantly all over the place. Also, I guess, versus how many people they actually do try to save. Because we know people have been, like, dying lately. I'm thinking of, like, the last fight that they had with the Dicastia, people died. But how many of those people were only wounded and not dead. So it's gonna be an Akumi episode. Really, the episode titles give me no clue about what we're about to see.
そういう起こし方やめろって言ってんだろ。グミ。
So is this her making a choice?
おはよ
I mean, not much of a choice, really. Yuki has colon. Although arguably he has Fina. Maybe.
う。美味しそう。なんでこっちに連れてきたんだよ。仕方ないだろ。一人じゃ危ない。あんたも特権階級のお世話になんの？そうじゃないってば。コウジは私の幼馴染なだけ。
So I guess he's listening to Akumi's advice.
今日は27区画の掃除だよね。いきなり仕事の話なんかすんなよ。はい。いいよ。ダメだってば、栄養取らなきゃ。そうでなくてもコウジはカルシウム不足なんだし。ああもう。コウジ。
That's what my doctor tells me.
ほんとだらしないんだから。悪かったよ。はい。オッケー。いってらっしゃい。
Again, Fina is still looking for him, as we learned at the end of the last episode, too.
レイコにも、イクミにも。そして。どうしてこんなことになった
Well, there's that smile to a frown that we get in the opening.
そうだった。コウジとユウキが高中市養成所へ行くって知ったから、私も進路で迷ってたし、宇宙もいいかなって思って。
Which also Julie seems to imply that astronaut training is becoming a soldier.
きっかけは本当にそんな程度で。葵、お前なんでここにいんだよ。なんでって。
Well, head back to episode 1.
え？相葉母にもコウジとユウキのことよろしくって言われちゃったし。ユウキって？あいつも？うん、同じ第二資格。久しぶりに会ったコウジはがっかりするほど変わってなくて、ほっとしたような、残念なような。
Well, it seems like it would have been better if they had actually gone to two different places.
いきなり事故に巻き込まれちゃって、なんでこんなことになったのかわからないまま。
I mean, it's been 20 episodes. Maybe some people do need a recap. But I'm hoping this doesn't turn into a recap episode. I feel like we've already had one of those.
リバイアス。避難したリバイアスでほんの少し我慢してれば救助が来ると思ってた。そう信じ込んでいた。いつの間にか私たちがテロリスト扱いされていても悪いことなんかしてないから絶対助かるって思ってた。
Yeah, shit has just gotten worse and worse on this ship.
ないくらい日々の作業に追われてたし、戦いとかもあったし。
The anxiety shit
そんな中で
is like slow cooking crab, like that euphemism.
ユキのこと、
Going back to the early episodes and thinking about how good it was back then.
のこと、レイコのこと。それに私は無理しすぎなんだよ。うるさい。分かってるさ。いつまでもこんなことが続くわけないって。だったらなぜ続けるの？お前ならどうする？今の状況、みんなの気持ち、残りの食料、最良が最善じゃない。そんなの逃避よ。そう思う。
I mean, it feels like we're doing recap this episode anyway, but maybe it's to remind us about certain characters' levels of interaction. You know, thinking about it, I'm surprised more soap operas don't do recaps, although I wouldn't know, actually. I don't watch.
そんなんじゃないって。なんだよ、らしくねえぞ。泣き言ぐらい言ってもいいじゃない。なんで俺なんだよ。工事だからよ。尻滅裂すぎ。
Actually, I guess that's what the soap operas have so much exposition for, so you'd be reminded what characters did what. First kiss time. Gotta hope Raphra's doing okay. Really haven't seen Raphra since Fina took him back.
何やってんだよバカ。チコよチコ。ねえ。私たちどうなるの？そんなのわかるかよ。だよね。わかるわけないよね。あんなことになるなんて。あんな。
We're gonna run out of resources pretty soon. Knowing where she was sent, I think it's more surprising that she was able to get out. But yeah, I don't think we need to flash back to this. This was like 2 episodes ago, or even last episode. Really feels more like this is just a recap for us to know what Aoi is thinking and doing. I really haven't shown us where Rico wound up. Although I don't know if we're supposed to care. I mean, I care because it's a character I'm keeping track of. He doesn't have a black eye here. Are these the assholes responsible? Again, Luxon's such a good guy. He didn't get a black eye though, so that's not the scene.
誰も来やしねえよ。傷ついちゃうな、その言い方。らしくないね、考え事なんて。お前に何がわかる？どうせこうなる。うまくいかない。なら何もしない方がいい。面倒なだけだ。
What is that doing though?
考えよすぎてすぐにわかっちゃうんだよね。私と同じ。お前がそうとは思えねえよ。挨拶ぐらいするって。でもね、誰も私の心には踏み込ませない。こんなこと話したの。勇気が最初。意味わかる？引っかかってるの感じるよ。でも
I mean,
振られるならちゃんと振られる。
sharing with Yuki seems like sharing with a wall.
言ったでしょ？勇気のことわかるって。どこ行くの？結局行くんだ。バカ。本音モードなのに。
Yeah, I mean, Yuki is good at a lot of shit, but he's like worthless when it comes to emotions and sharing.
何言ってんだ、王子。おめえの正論は痛すぎんだよ。俺のせいだ。くそ。いつまでこんなこと繰り返せばいいんだ。お前の正論じゃ宝泉は守れないな。本当に宝泉のことを大切に思ってるなら命がけで守れ。どういう意味だよ、久美。何が言いたいんだ。
Yeah, again, she's been looking for you forever. Raphra's okay. Some good news.
Ryvius, check this.
ごめんなさい。す
ごく真剣そうだったからつい。
怒ってないよ別に。
あのね、これ工事にって思って。
I guess there's also the element that Koji is going through.
これ
あ、その
葵さんのね。
いやその
どうして？
実は
Koji's going through the Aoi thing himself, and at pick one.
あいつ一人なんだ。で俺たちのチームで面倒見てて、そのお礼みたいなもんなんだよ。
私より葵さんを取るの？
弁当一つでそんな。
私を助けてくれたのはなぜ？リーベデルタであなたたちが死ぬような思いをして私を助けてくれたって小瀬君から聞いたわ。
Well, you were infatuated with her at the time, but I don't think Akumi would have stopped. Akumi was going to save anybody that was there.
あなたが近づいてるって感じたけど、それが本当かどうかわからなかった。だからわざと離れたのに。それでもあなたが私に近づいてきて、葵さんたちのチームに私を紹介して。
I mean, this is all
あ
true.
なた言ったじゃない。
一つ聞いていいかな。
ええ。
嫌なことを忘れるにはどうしたらいい？
And you went out of your way at the dance thing, too?
そうか。
過去は断ち切るしかない。自らの手で。あ、聖母アルネの教え。私のふるさと。
Oh, there's Arn. Okay. The previously discussed, Arn.
みんなも同じ気持ちを抱えてるわ。
君も？
もちろんよ。コウジは私を選んだはずじゃないの。だから私は。
いや。
But yeah, you had your own accidental kiss with her, too.
私は何度も言ったわ。何度も。躊躇や不安は決意を鈍らせるわ。でもこれだけは覚えておいて。受け身なだけのあなたの行動が。
So it's occurring to me. He's gonna fuck things up with Fina. She's not gonna give him lunch. And Rafra has just eaten all of his other lunch that Aoi gave him.
受け身で居続けているあなたはずっと私を傷つけている。
傷つけてるなんて。
傷ついているのよ。
わからないんだ。君は物事を割り切りすぎる。俺たちがテロリストにされた時も、ブルーたちがブリッジを追われた時も。
これは聖母アルネの慈悲よ。あなたは自分が望んだ通り一つ自由になれた。だってあなたが嫌がっていた社会との接点を断ち切ることができたんですもの。
Yeah, and in hindsight, it's very clear what she's talking about.
過去は断ち切らないと前に進めない
Where
わ。
it really felt real nebulous to me back then.
君に言われたことをやろうとしたけど、でもどうしても割り切れない。
割り切って。
だから
私を受け入れたのなら割り切って。あなたはできる。私信じてる。
無理だよ。
コウジ。
I mean, it is a dick move on his part. To be leading all these people along, I mean, even though some of them are pretty self-led.
勇気、久しぶり。
挨拶してる時か？女が一人で出歩くんじゃねえよ。
相変わらずだな。もうちょっと優しく言ってよ。
一人で出歩くな。
待って。確かに館内の風紀は乱れているわ。私たちの目が届かないこともある。
ありすぎなんだよ。
でも力で人を縛りたくない。それに今は敵の追撃からどうやって逃げるかが先決だと思うの。これ以上犠牲者を出さない
I
ためにも。
mean, Julie, you don't get to be not captain and then tell people what to do.
リバイアスの同型艦でも追ってこられないほど深く。それよりも艦内のことを第一に考えてくれ。もしできないんなら。いや、なんでもない。
What's the matter, Stein? Your next, your next lackey captain you see on the board?
うるさかったからだよ。ああしろこうしろ、こうした方がいい、こうするべきだ。自分の価値観で人を縛りやがって、寄生虫みたいに他人に張り付いてるだけのくせに。けど殴り飛ばしたら話もしてこなくなった。すぐ逃げるんだよ、あいつは。
お兄さんじゃない。
いつまであいつとセット扱いされんだよ、俺は。
The rest of your life?
お前ら付き合ってんだ。そうならそうと早く言ってくれよ。俺バカみて
くそ、なんでヘラヘラしてられんだあいつ。 あいつじゃお前を守れない。葵、俺と来い。
私は
来い。
でも
来い。何をしてる？勇気。
コウジ
Oh, did you make your choice way too late,
こうやって
Goji?
3人揃ったのすごく久しぶりねえなんか作るからあんたはずるい
面倒ぐらいちゃんと見てろ。
見てるよ。
見てねえ。
見てる。
分かってねえよ、あんた。
やめてよ喧嘩しないでユキなんでコウジと
What if Koji accidentally shot Yuki?
いいんだ。大丈夫だ、葵。
答えてよユキ
いいから。
ユキユキユキ
なんでだよ、クソ。全然分かって
Well, this is becoming a huge clusterfuck. More so than it already was, though? Hard to tell.
だからなんて思いたくないけど。
みんなバカなのね大人がいないから歯止めが効かなくなってる少し先のことを考えればどうなるかわかるはずなのに私もそうだったからみんな逃げてるのね私もおかしいんだ
歯止めが必要なんだ。今思えばエアーズブルーが仕切ってた時が一番安定してたような気がする。個々の不満があったにしても
He was the one that got you labeled as terrorists.
確かに
Come on,
安定
dude.
してた。
先行する？ここシア4だぜ。
敵の攻撃から逃れるためにもっと先行するの。記録だとバイタルガーダーはシア5を超えて活動してるし言いたいことはわかるけど
限界を試すってことか。
人類初の試みかも
そんなことしたって誰も見てないって。僕ソリッドを組みます。
なんで嬉しそうなんだよ、お前は。
I mean, certainly is. Damn it, Luxon. I mean, damn it for Luxon, not damn it Luxon. He got beaten up so that Pat wouldn't get messed with. I appreciate that.
いいのね
いいさ、見せてやる。俺なりのやり方で。俺こそが正しいことをあいつに。
Oh man, everything is really just about to go Lord of the Flies.
過去を捨てることなんてできない。過去と向き合わなきゃいけないんだ。それがリーベデルタに逃げようとした俺が今しなきゃいけないことだ。俺が
I mean, to be fair, there's a difference between escaping from your past and ignoring the future.
どうして
君だと思ってた。でも違った。期待させてごめん。俺はもう君とは。ごめん、ファイナ。
大丈夫よあなたは私が目覚めさせてあげる全て
Obsession! It's like I freaking... It really feels like obsession is the only thing going on here.
補助動力への切り替え作業に入ります。敵リバイアスの艦内にいる全員に告げる。俺は甲虫士第2種 E328455 尾瀬組。バイタルガーダーは俺が占拠した。今の揺れはバイタルガーダーがリバイアスを抑えて起きたものだ。リバイアスにいる全ての者たちに勧告する。今から艦内における全ての暴力行為を一切禁止する。もしそれが破られた場合、俺はバイタルガーダーで
Except that Izumi is on the Ryvius. This threat doesn't work at all.
過ちを犯すな。揉めるな。争うな。なじるな。傷つけるな。普通でいろ。
私殺される私あの人に殺される
俺は
なんでいないのよ
言ってることとやってることが違うだろ。
Yeah, exactly.
どうしたんだ、ゆくみ。ゆくみ。
I was saying, also, you can't stay on the lift ship or... Yeah, you can't stay on the lift ship indefinitely. It doesn't have its own supplies. You would have to let people give you food and hope that they didn't try and storm the thing for fear that you would destroy the Ryvius. there's so many points in which his whole plan falls apart. And I understand he's not thinking logically because he's gone fucking insane. But also the idea that he would just like idolizing Blue's thought about the ship being in control and everything. It doesn't make much sense either because I don't know. It's the element of how crazy is everybody getting versus what logic are we now following? Because I understand what he's doing, but the way he's doing it makes no sense. Yeah, we don't need tomorrow.
リヴァイアスに秩序を求めた。破滅へ向かい始めた状況の最中、俺は気づいてしまった。だから言える。言わせてくれ。俺たちには明日なんかいらない。
Alright, I know that there's one out that we have here, and that out is the fact that I believe Blue might still be on the lift ship. Because it's when... Yeah, I think it's when Koji walks out and... what was it, like 3 episodes ago? Where he walks out and I can't remember, was he communicating or finding something? That he runs into Blue. And the amount of time that passes between him leaving that room and finding Blue, I have to think that Blue is on the ship. So if anyone is going to stop Akumi, I believe that it has to be Blue, right? But the problem is that Akumi thinks he's following in Blue's footsteps, and Blue is, I think, possibly still sane in the moment. I don't know. It's hard to tell. So the idea that Blue might be our only savior here is also very weird, but that also might be the element that brings Julie back to him. And despite the fact that Luxon is like sacrificing to keep Pat safe, by the way, we didn't even explain Pat's black eye. In fact, the black eye went away. So, nothing. Also, no confirmation on who has the gun. You'd think if Yuki had the gun, he'd fucking do something. So I have to think that maybe Koji does have the gun, because if Koji had the gun, he would fucking do nothing. And he's done nothing. Although the idea is that next episode he might do something. So, I don't know. There's the level of everybody keeps getting pushed, and everybody just doesn't do the thing that you'd think that they would do to have a logical resolution. And I guess even with Akumi, he's like, your logic is hurting me. So, I don't know. Very much, the show keeps pushing, and pushing, and pushing, and you're like, how much further can we push? And you're like, well, maybe a little bit further. So, it is rough. It is a rough show to deal with if you have a problem with characters who are like this. For me, it's still observation. Like, I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen to the characters I care about the most, and then rotating those characters out as they become characters I can't deal with anymore. Like, Julie isn't a character I can't deal with anymore, but she's certainly rotated herself out of being one of my favorites. Stein has become more interesting, but at the same time, I'm not down for what he's doing with the crew and the people he's manipulating. Luxon became a joke to my favorite character, and now all I have to deal with is Luxon's constantly getting his ass kicked, and he's getting nowhere. I just want a Luxon win. That's literally, I have gone from so many hopes to so many ideas about what's happening to, I just want the show to end with a Luxon win. Can we get a Luxon win by the end of it so that he has, I feel like, learned so much. He's become such a more well-rounded person. He is sacrificing his well-being and literally getting his ass kicked for others. He has become the person that he wanted to be at the beginning, even though he hasn't learned to be a better speaker, he hasn't learned to be a better leader, he hasn't had any better technical skills. I feel like he's still the better person that he was meant to be. Maybe if he could run into Stein again, Stein would use him to be the leader, and that he could make the moral choices and Stein could make the logical ones. And that's the combination that we might need on the bridge now. Well, anyways, I feel like I'm rambling. We know what we do when we ramble. We move on into the next thing, and for me, the next thing here is obviously wrapping up. So once again, I have been Theta. This has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?